name is Jenny, and the global issue that I decided to do research on was that of representation in the media. And this is something that's very close to me personally because as a female, I know what it's like to be represented pretty badly in the media a lot, and I also know what it's like when you're represented well and how important it can be to be able to relate to people on screen that are three-dimensional and are complex and are worthy of attention and are worthy of having their story told is what it really boils down to. So really quickly, what representation is it's how we portray people, communities, or groups, or even ideas in the media. It's how we decide to show those things and how we have differing viewpoints. And it's something that's crucial to have a lot of diversity for, especially if you live in a diverse society, because you don't want the same idea or same voice being repeated all the time. You need the balance that comes from having many stories told and many sides told. So the first issue that comes up with representation is the fact that we're surrounded almost entirely by mass media. We have TVs, movies, video games, books, other types of print media, social media, and especially the rise of the internet, which is accessible almost all the time if you have a smartphone. We encounter media and the ideas that it portrays almost constantly, and so it's very important that what we're being fed is at least from different viewpoints if we can't make sure it's necessarily good all the time. If we're going to be affected, it might as well be a good thing, especially if we plan on continuing down this path as a society where we're more and more intertwined every day with technology. The second issue with representation is how well you are represented does have an effect on yourself psychologically. So there is a study that was done by Nicole and Kristen and published in Communication Research that found that white boys, when watching TV for a certain amount of time every day, had their self-esteem boosted. But white girls, black boys, and black girls all had their self-esteems reduced. And this is due to the fact that they just weren't represented well, if they were even represented at all. So characters who are white males typically get the better parts, they get the majority of the parts, and they especially the majority of the main parts. They tend to be the most complex characters, and they usually have the best socioeconomic standing. Whereas everybody else, there's a pretty high risk of, one, not being shown very well, and two, just being shown badly, just being reduced to a bunch of stereotypes, being reduced to something that's 2D and basically just isn't important. It says through media, the message gets repeated that, you're not important, your story is not worth telling, it's more important to talk about these people over here, and that's not what we need to be doing in a modern society that is almost constantly connected to this hyper reality created by mass media. So the good news is that this is a problem that has a solution. It's granted a lot easier from the person's standpoint when compared to the industry standpoint, but things can definitely be done to make this better. So the first thing you can do is just recognize that it is a problem and it's one that does need addressing. So, you don't have to do anything drastic. Just maybe the next time you're watching a movie or a TV show, just start asking yourself why the characters that are shown on screen need to be the way that they are, and if that's how it needs to be told. And don't even have to make a huge deal out of it. Just start pondering it. Start asking yourself. Start thinking about it and analyzing it and being open when people bring up this kind of a discussion. The second thing is that you can support content creators directly. There's a lot of people out there creating really cool stories, and those content creators come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So all you have to do is just, maybe read a book by a different author, maybe read one that's written by a woman, or read one that's written by someone that's not the same ethnicity that you are, and see how that works out. Especially with things like Kickstarter and Patreon making things a lot easier to be crowdfunded. We definitely are starting to see a lot more of independent comics and video games and books going up, and it's generally a lot easier for a more diverse group to get represented. So go and support those things when you come across them. I'll definitely put some links to some that I know in the description down there. And the third thing that you can do is you can support organizations that are aiming to try and change this from an industry standpoint. One that's personally my favorite, because it's important to me, because it involves my career and what I want to do, is Girls Make Games. And I'll be linking them in the description. But they're basically trying to promote gender diversity within the gaming industry, which is cool because I'm also going to be a game dev, and I definitely want to see that world diversified more. I don't want to be the only girl working there. So that's important to me. And there's a lot of other things that promote different kinds of diversity in different ways, and I will put a link down there.